Welcome to Directionally Correct, a Felix podcast with Cole and Scott. Today's guest, nobody.
There you go.
There we go.
I love it. Thanks to our sponsors, One Model. One Model helps people leaders at large organizations make consistently brilliant talent decisions by unlocking the analytical value of the data dispersed across your business. One Model's people analytics platform takes all of the heavy lifting out of data extraction, cleansing, modeling, analytics, and reporting of enterprise workforce data. One Model pioneered people data orchestration and has perfected the ethical use of AI and data science for leaders who need transparent and explainable decision support systems. HR and business teams trust its accurate reports, analyses, and storytelling capabilities. Data scientists, engineers, and people analytics professionals love the combination of governance and flexibility that no other workforce insights platform can provide. To learn more, book a demo at onemodel.co/directionallycorrect. All opinions are our own and do not reflect those of any other organization.
We got to keep things fresh, though. Like, how's Gen Z going to respond to us?
I think I disagree with the notion that we have to keep things fresh.
Our audience, like, we can get sweet shirts.
Do you really think anybody in Gen Z listens to us?
When does Gen Z end? Like, are they like 27 now? I don't know when Gen Z is.
Let's stipulate that they're 25. Do you think anybody in Gen Z, anybody 25 or younger listens to our podcast?
There has to be some grad students that do.
Yeah.
And if you do, email Cole. He's waiting to hear from you.
I'm not. I am definitely not.
Cole is he was asking, he needs more things to do.
You know what I have heard, though, is that Scott is actually waiting for you to email him. He does real research. He wants to talk to you about it. So,
hey, everyone email me. See what happens.
by the way, he also doesn't answer emails. So he's sending you off the trail. He really wants you to find him in person.
I apologize, everyone on LinkedIn, for all your invites and messages that are just sitting there. It's really sad. Like, I go in and like there's people I like, I respect. Sorry. Like I see it sitting there. I'll get to it eventually. I pop in like once every 3 months.
The funniest thing to me is I have to explain you to other people.
How does that go?
Well, because like people assume that you're rude or breaking social convention. I'm like, nope, that's just Scott.
He doesn't hate you, I swear.
He doesn't hate you. This is just him.
No.
Yep.
I just can't be bothered. I hate to put it that way, but like it's a self-protection mechanism. Like I get overwhelmed. I get so overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed by text messages from loved ones. I'm like, oh my God, there's a lot.
So how many is a lot?
Like 2, 3.
Yeah. It's like a very not a lot number is a lot. I mean, if it's a lot, like a truly a lot, it can be overwhelming, but
No, I kid, of course. What I dislike, we never really talked about this. Like I love talking to the people that I love, this sort of thing. But what I cannot stand is like texting behavior where someone will write 3 words, 7 seconds later, send me another message, 3 words, another message, 3 words. So you get like 15 in a row.
mm-hmm.
It's like, and the entire time my phone's going ding, ding, ding. It's like messing up my TikTok video or something.
Yeah. And I imagine that's what text messages were like when they were using like a stone and chisel. So you could only do 3 at a time. Like, it better make it worth it.
You know who you are out there.
Scott, what are we wearing?
Well, I mean, this is all you. This is Cole's doing.
These are the ugliest fucking shirts on planet Earth, but the first directionally correct shirts do exist. Scott has one, I have one, and our beloved patron Emily Pelosi has one. These will never see the light of day again. They're awful.
I don't even know where to begin. Thank you for putting this together.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is not a reflection of your design skills. This is what they gave you, right? This is not what you ordered.
They did not give me what I ordered.
Okay.
Is correct. And I was actually trying to create a way for other people to be able to buy them as well if they were interested. And they just screwed the pooch on this. So.
It's cool to have like a directionally correct store so that people get themselves a little pencil topper or something.
Needless to say, no directionally correct store is in our future plans at the moment.
Why does Emily Pelosi have one?
She's one of the she is, I can't remember the name of it. We have, like, 2 levels of being a patron, and she's the only one at the premier level. So thank you, Emily. You get a really shitty T-shirt as a consequence. You're welcome.
She's my number one celebrity crush. This is great. It's a very circular thing going
It's
on here.
not creepy at all, and you keep bringing it up. So well done.
I love Emily so much. Can I be a level 1 Patreon?
I mean, if you wanna be,
Okay.
I
I might. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, all donations are welcome.
Email me. We'll see what happens.
It will You got me there. But I did wanna say, I think this is the last episode of, our sponsorship with One Model.
Yes.
So I did wanna say a big thank you to them for sponsoring the last 15 episodes of the podcast, and actually kinda make an announcement of sorts. We will no longer be taking sponsorship of the podcast, which I'm pretty excited about. We're going to introduce a series that I'm calling HR Tech Voices. So probably maybe every 6 or 7 episodes, we'll have a vendor on and just get to poke around and hear what they're doing. But we're no longer going to have sponsors of the podcast, and partially that's due to the fact that we have some really great patrons like Emily and some others. But just really appreciate our previous sponsors, but I think this will kind of free up our ability to just let our creativity run wild. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Scott?
No, I really appreciate, obviously, the support that other people have given us. It's allowed us to carry this podcast through and, take care of some editing and some house cleaning. All this costs money, right? And, like, well, we're not getting rich off this by any means.
And
Uh,
time is money, baby.
Time is money, but, I mean, like, being able to, like, have a little, like, remuneration and, being able to, like, pay the bills is always a good thing to
Oh
keep
yeah.
doing this.
I always tell people like when they ask me off the podcast, like what it's like, and I say, really the only fun parts of the podcast are the actual recording of the podcast, but that's like the tip of the iceberg. Everything else sucks and it's no fun at all. But what the like this podcast, I mean, I think you would agree with this. It would have ended if we hadn't taken sponsorship money because we would have had to keep doing all this stuff ourselves, and we would just quit already. So,
We've talked to other people that do edit their own podcasts and take
mhm,
care of everything that don't have sponsors, and we were doing that for a while,
we were.
and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really does power our ability to do this. So we're very grateful to them, but I'm also grateful for the fact that, we're moving away from that. And I'm looking forward to this series that we're calling HR Tech Voices. We're going to get to hear from some cool companies.
So what does that look like? I really don't know. This is more your brain.
We're still kind of figuring it out, to be honest with you, but I think we've got 4 of them booked out for the coming year. And just talking to companies that are doing interesting stuff in people analytics and the HR tech space and just hearing what they're about.
Well, I think with, Gen AI, just how fast things are moving. Just think how far we've come in the past 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's wild, like
We haven't improved at all. I agree.
us?
Yeah. But you said how far we've come.
I mean, like, we as a species, not we as a podcast. We may have regressed in a lot of ways, honestly.
So Scott and I were just having lunch, and in the car ride on the way back, we were saying because we're recording together in person today, we were saying like, man, we are just so mediocre in terms of doing this, and I just don't know if I can get any better. So I apologize and thank you at the same time.
Speaking of just, like, technology, I had the thought that's a rarity these days, but,
Hmm.
around AI, like, we aim AI at, say, CT scans,
Hmm.
and they can detect tumors, and, like, you're like, "Wow, that's really
Yeah.
fantastic." But we've also, like, on the podcast, we've not debated, but had a lot of, like, researchers on that talk about there's a lot of phony data out there, like, kinda like funny business going on with publishing because of all the pressures that are involved and,
Dude,
the
I got like two
sickness.
things to talk about this today.
You what?
I got like 2 articles to
Oh.
talk about this today.
Well, I'm really talking about I don't know, well, maybe this is part of your article and, like, I'm having the same thought about someone else, but, like, taking Gen AI and turning it on the publishing world, not only the things that are currently published, but the things that have been published, the
Hmm.
whole repository.
Yeah.
Like, we talked to Marcus today, and he talked about, he essentially discovered these impossible papers
Hmm.
based on looking at, say, like, the, SEM model, comparing that to the correlation matrix, which it should. match up directly,
Correct.
or just incorrect hypotheses in the paper.
Well, how would you know if it was not a typo? I mean, presumably you should catch a typo in, like, editing and
Well, I mean, there's certain things like our hypothesis was significant when it was not.
the typo is always in favor of proving the
It
hypothesis.
is funny how that happens, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't. I mean, there's certain things like it's an A and it should have been an. I mean, like, that's
Mhm.
whatever.
Sure.
These things happen. But I'm talking about legit things that impact the quality of the paper or the findings
Mhm.
that, may not be fully evident if you're not looking at a hypercritical eye.
I totally agree,
Or
and
maybe, like, wreck entire career of someone that publishes a lot of these sort of things.
I think it's, like, the classic trade-off between short-term versus long-term thinking.
Okay.
In the short term, yeah, it's gonna fuck up a bunch of people's lives. Like, let's be clear. If you find out you got a bunch of researchers, but in the long term, it's gonna restore faith in the scientific community and what is published and improve the quality of what is published because if you're I mean, scientific papers aren't just for science. People use those findings to do stuff. And if they keep using the findings and they keep not getting the result they expect, that's actually wasting people's time. It's hurting people. It's hurting, presumably products, yada, yada, yada.
I think that there's like a second level there too. Like, so say you take Gen AI or something like that and turn it out into the community. I'm talking like Google Scholar or something like that.
Hmm.
Collect all the papers on a certain topic, and you find the ones that seem to be legit sources of information.
Yeah.
Take those effect sizes, kind of map them out, and then you can see where the cutoff point is of where their papers are no longer being published, i.e., like insignificant findings just aren't going to be published. You have a better overall recollection of, like, what the overall, effect of certain characteristics would be.
Alright. You're sending me down a different pathway now where I'm like, I wonder if you could use AI to generate synthetic data about to solve the file drawer problem.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
at.
yeah.
Like, there's only a certain number of papers that are published. You could weed out the ones that don't appear to be scientifically sound or just have data so messy, we're not gonna call it fake. Data so messy that it doesn't appear to be real. Take those out of the equation, look at what the distribution looks like, fill in the rest of that distribution a la, is it Kep's? Kep's, like, 2012, something like that, and now you have a pretty good indication of what the overall effect size of specific, variables are on whatever dimension you're looking at.
What I think would be interesting, and this isn't the exact appropriate use of this term, but what if you factor analyzed all of psychological research just to find out what are the things we actually know, right? So like thinking like dimension reduction and
Mhm.
just taking like, there's the proliferation of theories, the proliferation of studies, the file drawer problem, like all the different
Yeah.
things. And you just boil it down to like, what are like the 10 things we actually know.
In IO or, like, overall?
Well, you could do it for all science
Yeah.
disciplines, but, like, let's start with IO. Wouldn't it just be fascinating to know what are the things that we actually know that work reliably?
What's the relationship to performance
Yep.
for certain things?
Yeah.
Job satisfaction.
Yep. And, like, what if you could do some kind of study that got rid of, like, all the covariates? Because, like, I mean, I think we referenced the other day, there was, like, a study that shows, like, the 120 things that predict turnover.
Mhm.
I'm sure a lot of those are just correlated with one another.
Of
Like, what if
course.
you just get rid of all of them? It's actually 3 things. 3 things predict turnover, and that's it.
I mean, when it comes to turnover, I think that a lot of it's gonna come down to, like, your relationships with your boss and your coworkers,
Yep.
and then when you get past that, it's pay satisfaction.
Hygiene motivators.
Yeah.
2-factor theory.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So yeah, I think that, like, we're just at the tipping point of
Yeah.
AI and, like, this turning it loose
Turning it
on not only what we're doing in the future, because people talk about, writing Gen AI research docs, but turn it loose on what we already know in the field.
Have you seen this meme?
What's
I'm
that?
sorry, this is kinda related to how you teed it up about, like, finding cancer and everything,
Yeah.
where it's, like, a picture of Elon Musk in 2015 saying, "In 3 years, there's gonna be driverless cars," and then there's another guy, must be a famous scientist or something, and it's like, "In 3 years, we're going to be able to like identify with, you're not going to need a radiologist anymore to identify like cancer or whatever. And then in the third picture is just a car stuck in traffic, and it says people driving drivered cars, radiologist driving drivered cars on their way to work. Have you seen that?
No.
Basically, it means like all these predictions are full of shit. Because you're not going to need a radiologist. You're not going to need to drive your car anymore. And it's like 2024. I guess none of that actually came through. True.
I mean, there's an element of like I don't know, the researchers are saying that we're gonna have generalized artificial intelligence in 24 months anyway. So we're all gonna be out of a job. There's no need to study performance anymore.
You realize we're always 24 months away from it?
Yeah.
2 years from now, we'll be 24 months away from it.
Who did we have on that like painted like a rather rosy picture? There's so many bleak stories about how we're not gonna have a job, but he was essentially saying that we're gonna. He was an economist we had on over the summertime.
You talking about Ron Hetrick?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's just gonna
My
change.
coworker, Ron, my boy. I actually don't remember, so I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so like maybe we have jobs, maybe we don't. We'll find out.
Maybe we don't.
Good luck, everyone.
I mean, I always go back to like plumbers are always going to have jobs, so become a plumber if you really want to go. And actually, that's another one of the things that I have to talk about today in the nerdery. We can hopefully do like a marathon nerdery. Before we get there, though, we got accepted to PsyOp. We're going to do another live podcast at PsyOp again. Shauna Waters, Tara Barron. Shauna's a PsyOp fellow and very impressive person herself, practitioner, and Tara is a Michigan State professor and also happens to be the president of PsyOp. So I'm really thrilled about that. So
I mean, they're okay.
I mean, if your emails have bounced back from Scott, you've messaged him on LinkedIn. The one assured way that you can find him and ask him your questions is you got to go to PsyOp and come find him in person.
I will be there. What would you say, Thursday at 4 p.m.? That's a good slot. I like that.
We're moving up in the world, dude.
Hopefully we get a big room. I'd love a big room. I would love I mean, that's right before happy hour, especially the first night. First night's wild.
A big room is scary because it can be a wild success or it can be embarrassing.
Well, okay, here's my thing. Once you get past like 8 or 10 people, it doesn't matter.
It absolutely matters in a big room. In a big room, you can hear a pin drop if there's 8 or 10 people. No, I think we're gonna crush it having a bunch of people there. But
we'll have to up our game.
I mean, you remember first time, literally last session of the last day of the conference on Saturday. Then they moved us up a day to we were first session today, 8 a.m. when everybody's coming in with bloodshot eyes. And then now we finally moved to day one. It is I think that's last session of the day. It might be second.
I think there's a 5 o'clock session, but this is even better. This is even better than 5.
This is primo territory.
Yeah, agreed.
So well done, PsyOp. Thank you.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
They know who we are.
Do they? I don't know.
I'll tell you my first. You submitted it, so you sent me the text or whatever. Like, hey, we got in. You know, my first thought was like, which Patagonia am I gonna wear?
Hey,
am I gonna wear my dress Patagonia?
I've never seen your closet, but I imagine your closet is just one row of gray Patagonia shirts, and you're like, which one will I wear today?
I mean, it's exaggeration, but you're not totally wrong.
I mean, now there will be one directionally correct shirt amongst the Patagonias.
I don't know if this is going home with me, honestly.
This is going to get framed eventually. So
put it in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Put it in the Hall of Fame. No, that's very exciting. It's always a good time when we do these sort of things live.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a few live ones outside of PsyOp, and now this will be the third live PsyOp. This is great.
Live PsyOp. We might even do one at the PsyOp People Analytics LEC, which we'll probably talk about later.
I wonder if we can get some like crowd participation, like sort of integrate them somehow. We'll have to think about it. No promises right now, but just kind of thinking about it.
Well, again, to the point about the iceberg from earlier about the fun thing is recording, but the non-fun things are everything else. The thing about getting crowd participation is we'd have to figure out how to freaking record it because you have to have like a mixer at that point. And there's just so many different like little idiosyncratic things that go into doing this and making it work that nobody thinks about. So, and this is what gives me nightmares. I mean, I told you last time at PsyOp, I got there at our recording was at 8 a.m. I got to the room at 5:30 a.m. and was still not ready in time for the recording by getting everything set up. So this is what gives me nightmares.
It's greatly appreciated, but I can tell it puts you into like a mental pretzel.
It
Like
really
you
does.
really dislike you. I think you like it secretly, like a sadist.
I think you're wrong. I think I don't like it at all.
I pulled down some things that I'd had on my list for a while to just kind of
Ooh.
like talking points, and I can't lie, they're kind of dark. This is probably why they've bubbled to the bottom of the list and haven't.
Well, maybe we can bring some light to the darkness. How about
Okay.
that?
Number one, have you ever been in a fight?
Yeah.
You fought a kid or an adult?
Yeah. I got suspended from school.
Fought a kid as an adult?
No, not as an adult. This was in high school. But yeah,
You
that
got
was,
suspended.
yeah,
Nice.
not going into it. But yes, I have. Have you been in a fight?
It was second grade. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but I remember his face. Yeah, it was something about the swing set. I can't
Never
remember.
forget that face.
Never forget him. No, so it's a weird sort of thing, right?
It's been in a few fights actually, but that's the one that is most memorable.
What did you do? Like, why did you piss him off so bad?
I mean, anyway, continue.
Oh, okay. Here's a different one. Have you ever had a girl to tell you get in a fight? Go fight that
No,
guy.
that's how you know you're dating a crazy girl.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
nope, not that's run for the hills.
I've seen it happen. It's never happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want any of that smoke.
We know somebody that had their phone, like somehow their phone got stolen and had it tracked to some house in Monroe,
What?
and they knew where it was, and they were trying to send someone, trying to be as
Blood vague.
yeah vague as possible. They're trying to send someone into the house to go get this phone from these people that stole it. I was like,
Yeah, that's a lot.
that's a lot. Um, which is worse? We're at that time of year. You get these sort of Sarah McLachlan dogs shivering on the TV. Which
In the arms of the angel.
so yeah, you got the shivering dogs or the African children with the cleft palate.
Yeah, I just don't see those much anymore because I don't have cable. So
Well, okay, that'll do it. Yeah.
yeah, almost everything I have now is streaming. The only thing I watch live anymore is like football, and that's where you get the commercials.
Well, I mean that makes sense. What do you binge watch guy? Like go ham on
I wish
something?
I could binge watch. My kids binge watch.
That makes you happy. Like just go away.
Gosh, like, well, no, it's not that. It's just, it's if I put something on the TV, everything. I don't know how to put this. Everything I watch other than football has curse words in it, so I can't watch it with the kids, which means they get the TV and I don't. So it's like, all right, well, this stinks. Anyway,
I hear a lot of parents talk about like I watched this entire series in like 12-minute increments because every 12 minutes the kids come in and like need something. So yeah,
oh no, dude, like I can't do that. I just rather not watch. I'll do it after the kids go to bed. If I'm gonna watch a series, I'm gonna watch a series.
they stay in bed, no worries.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. They're good sleepers. We're nappers. You know.
You are a napper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
Nice, nice. You've been working on that one for
I know.
a long
I've
time.
definitely told that joke on the podcast before.
Are you a Harambe guy?
I don't know what that is.
Harambe, the girl that was killed in the Cincinnati Zoo in like 2013.
So you know how like I'm not on social media anymore?
Yeah.
Certain things just whoosh right over my head. Don't see them, don't know about it.
I mean, like justice for Harambe. He was sitting there. Kid fell into his enclosure, and they shot and killed him.
That's pretty bad. Why'd they
What
do
would
that?
you do? Like, okay, like you got kids. Like, if you go to the zoo, surely that's what kids like do. They fall in the monkey pit. You go in after them.
I don't know. Depends on the context.
Okay.
Because like if there's like a zoo person there, I should be like, zoo person, can you get them? But like if there's nobody around,
and the girl is coming over to the.
I mean, you're gonna save your kid,
You got to
But
go
like,
in.
but
Right?
there's contextually there could be like easier to save, harder to save, depending on what's going on, But you're gonna save them one way or the other.
There's a lot of factors. Like, how many kids do you have?
Who's gonna carry on my legacy if this person gets killed?
If you got the one kid, you got to go get him.
Yeah,
You got
that's it.
12.
You get all your eggs in one basket. These are dark.
These are all all
How dark could they possibly be? It's like, well, there was a monkey in a zoo who they murdered. What do you think about that?
he's a, internet legend, Harambe.
All right.
Uh,
Well,
okay, last one, I'll keep it dark. Ever seen a crazy car wreck?
I have.
Yeah?
I remember it didn't even feel real. It was I was driving down the interstate and it was like probably 2 or 3 cars in front of me, and this car, I guess, just swerved into the median, and they just started rolling and rolling and
Really?
rolling, and it just, like, it felt like I was watching a video because it was just far enough away from me that I, like, wasn't worried about, like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
and the people didn't even slow down. That was the crazy part, and then it's just like I'm like, "Did that just happen?" I was like, "Yeah." I mean, it was like a crazy video, like, you just see those videos of cars rolling over and over and over.
Is here in Dallas?
This was in between Ruston and Monroe, I think.
I mean, cars get going pretty fast there.
Yeah. I was like, "That's wild." Have you ever seen anything like that?
I was in a rollover car wreck, when I was 17 or so. Lucky to survive that, but what sticks out to me is, like, this 3rd person just standing there like, "Oh my god, there's that just happened," was, this guy was just tearing ass down a, like a residential neighborhood, but, like, kind of a little faster, maybe 35 mile an hour sort of street, and, he's going super fast, and, it was nighttime and, like, hit the curb. We could see him, he flew and landed under like a minivan,
Oh, wow.
and it was nighttime, it was, like, midnight, and I was probably, like, 18, something like that, and ran over to the house of the owner, and I was, like, ringing the doorbell trying to get him to come out so he can call the cops or, whatever, and he was freaked out, like, he seemed like he may have had a gun or something like that, like, why would someone be, like, frantically ringing your doorbell at midnight, right? Of
It is
course.
pretty shady.
Yeah, it's weird as hell, but it's like, no, someone just landed under your car and, like, possibly dead. He was fine. He had, like, road rash and stuff, but yeah, it was a wild scene.
That is wild. Wow. And I mean, just imagine if that had gone a different way, you wouldn't be sitting here wearing an ugly ass shirt right now.
I mean, there's lots of, forks in the road. Did you see that Google invented a quantum computer, and, it carried out some calculation that they said shouldn't be able to be processed for, like, it's like 1,000 years?
Yeah, they said it might approve the multiverse.
Yeah, so it proved that there are so many
See,
dimensions.
it's funny what makes it to my radar. Harambe, just whoosh.
You know all the lame stuff, you don't know about
I get
Harambe.
the Google Willow is what it's called. I think it's called Google Willow.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the name of the computer, and, I get all that stuff. That makes it right to my desk. It's like, is there a multiverse? Absolutely.
I was at a conference in Boston several years ago, and this guy was, like, at MIT, like, trying to develop a quantum computer, and
Mhm.
maybe
As
as
one
part of this
does,
Google
using
Willow.
qubits that stay in a superposition between 0 and 1, like, allows the ability to do more calculations.
Look at you go, man. Well, I asked him about it, he's like, "I don't know, we're trying." I was like, "Do you think you're gonna do it?" He's like, I don't know.
I have no idea how they do it. I assume they, like
Super cooled computer
yeah, like,
somehow, I
near, like,
don't know.
absolute 0 or something.
Well, we just tap into the multiverse, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go, do this podcast real quick about
Mhm.
car wrecks in Harambe." Okay.
Well, speaking of, I moved jobs again. So that happened.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is, what I'm psyched about personally is I can talk about work again on the pod.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was annoying. Yeah.
Um, what, you just feel more comfortable about sharing, obviously, when you work for an organization, they don't necessarily want you to give them away
Oh, dude,
the
I coulda gotten fired.
yeah.
That'd been super lame. Like, to just share, like, a positive story about work, and it's like, "Oh, and by the way, you're fired." So, I don't know. I'm just pumped, getting to join Lightcast, previous sponsor of the podcast. Ron Hetrick is a coworker of mine now. So is Mark Hansen. He's
Shout out to Ron and Mark.
Ron and Mark, the greatest. But yeah, it's good times. Good times are coming.
Yeah, you seem happier, you seem, like just a fresh start, that's great.
It is, it is, and yeah. I mean, like, I liked it before. When I was at Orgnostic, getting to be kind of on the vendor side. It is fun. It's a different. when I joined Orgnostic, and I feel this again immediately, is I realized that I had plateaued in my development because I just started like it was kind of like Groundhog Day. Okay, we're doing this to predict turnover again. It's just like you're not really growing, you're not really learning new things. And then you go into a completely different kind of swim lane of work. And it's like you're back to being a beginner again. And it's so fun in a lot of ways. So I'm pretty excited about it. And then it's also new in the sense that getting to be kind of like a people analytics or an IO psych type person at a company with a bunch of economists is super interesting in itself. And so I'm learning a ton. I hope they're learning from me too, but, I don't know if I have much to offer. But
So what are you doing over there?
well, I'm leading the research. It's kinda like a few things, but I'm leading the research. It's a VP of research, innovation, and talent insights. So the innovation part is improving our product. And then the talent insights is going out and, like, doing thought leadership type stuff. So speaking at conferences, doing webinars, showing people the value of using labor market data in the workplace. And so it's pretty neat, and, I'm pretty excited about it.
That's great. You can like apply these principles of psychology that these economists have no idea about.
Yeah, when everybody thinks that psychologists, like, read minds anyway. It's such like a old, hashed out joke where it's like, "Oh, you study psychology? What am I thinking right now?"
Yeah.
Like, "Okay, whatever."
It's like, no, we just have this LLM that just told us all the variable relationships, and we can
Yeah,
apply it all here.
no more need for our psychologist or anyone else.
Well, I'm happy for you, man. That's great. It's always good to have a fresh start and learn new things and grow. Like I know plenty of IOs that have been doing, say, engagement surveys. They've been launching the same fucking engagement survey for like 5 straight years. Like, how is this any different from year two?
I don't That's a really good question, and I just I think, this is actually one of the things I think is fascinating about psychology is the whole concept of individual differences. Like, I
Yeah.
can't imagine doing that, but there's people out there that can't imagine not doing that. Does that make sense?
There's definitely find your groove and go for it.
Yeah,
Totally get that in a lot of ways, but also it's like binge watching shows.
sure.
It's like I've had enough Criminal Minds for one day or whatever. I don't know. I've never actually seen that show.
Like, one of my favorite go-to questions, and you even heard me do it at lunch today, is I always just ask people, "Do you like working here?"
Yeah.
Right? I just love that question, and the funny thing is you'll hear everything. Some people will be like, "You know what? Don't have to think too much here. It's great."
Mhm.
And then sometimes people are like, "I get to think a lot here. It's great." It's like those things are polar opposite.
And yes, and I mean there's certain folks that they just want to be told what to do and move on with their life. Like,
Mhm.
okay, that's what I do, and
Yeah.
I should go for it. Other folks like, no, no, I want to think critically about this thing and like how to make it better. And but both are being productive.
Yeah.
Both are meeting their the work demands.
Yeah.
But it's just different ways of thinking. It's like comfort with ambiguity almost. I don't even know how we got on this like tangent here,
Well,
but
I wanna ask you this actually,
yeah,
and, I mean, you don't have to share, like, any particular, like, bodies of work or anything like that, but why do you like people analytics and AI psychology? Like, why? Because I think that's, like, the subtext of a lot of what we
yeah.
talk about, but we never actually say, like, "What do I enjoy about doing it?"
Yeah, I think at the root, one, I like the basic psychology research. That's what
Mhm,
gravitated me towards it, as a student,
mhm,
right? I love the ambiguity and problem-solving nature of what I do. A lot of the stuff has never, been done before, so I get to go out and, like, research what other fields are doing. And, at the end of the day, it's not true for every IO, but definitely for me, I feel that I'm a tool builder. So building tools that other people can use to make, the workforce better.
he's a
Yeah.
tool builder.
Yeah. I'm not a tool. I like to think
I
that
thought
I'm
that's
not
the
the tool.
direction you were going. I was like,
No,
"Well,
no, I got a
yeah."
tool shed. I got a tool shed.
Like, what's the funnest kind of tool to build, I guess, is the way I would put it.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not like a hammer and a nail situation where, like, everything's a nail. It's definitely, like, sometimes I never wanted to build a shiny dashboard again, but I can. This sort of stuff.
Air
S
5, right there with you, man.
No, never again. There's it's not necessarily the building of the shiny dashboard, it's the people that critique the shiny dashboard that are the real issue. Of like, everyone's got an opinion on, like, the color and the font and, like, this sort of shit, and it ain't easy to fix 'cause the code gets really complicated really quick. But psychometric instruments, I mean, I did that for many years. That's a lot of fun. Even documenting it after a while, like, you work yourself into a mindset of, like, enjoying this sort of stuff, at least I did. Let's see, what else? Obviously, I got a bunch of network analytic tools. I've got
Mhm.
the Scotty Hines R package. It just
The Scotty I forgot about that, the
Yeah.
Scotty Hines R package.
I've been updating it. Go to GitHub, get the latest version. I got a suite of, exploratory tools that'll run through the major, psychological pardon me, the statistical analyses that you can use and, uh input as many variables as you want. They'll just rip through them. It's pretty awesome. We got hey, Cole. Recently, we just updated with, linear discriminant analysis and XGBoost. So you just, like, pop in the variables and do it for you.
Woohoo,
Oh my
baby.
god. I can hear all the ladies running right now.
I
They're
can
they're
hear
they're
all the data
excited.
scientists just sprinkling a little XGBoost onto their model.
Bring on the economists to shit all over it. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is kind of one of my running theories about data science in general is that there was a point in time where you, like, actually had to, like, build out an algorithm,
Yeah.
and, like, data science required skill, and then there was a point in time where it was just like, you just needed to know that just throw XGBoost on it.
Yeah.
And then there's a point in time where now all you need in the future is to say, "AI, build me a model." And it's like it's progressively getting to the point where there's like you used to have a ton of skill to no skill.
You ain't wrong. Yeah, it all seemed to, like, culminate within the past, like, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. You got up to, like, XGBoost, and then you got into this sort of ensemble modeling where it's like, maybe we'll combine a little random forest, maybe a little XGBoost.
Maybe we'll do multiple XGBoost and then make a mega XGBoost.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
you combine all these models together to have the best overall result, and now you'd be like, we'll just throw an LLM at it."
let's throw 'em another XGBoost on top of the LLM.
Yeah, and just automate the entire
You know what it
process.
reminds me of? It's like, you know, when your kids are like, you say, "Yeah, I win times infinity," and then the other kid says, "Infinity
Yeah.
times infinity."
Ooh,
It's like, and put XGBoost on top of it.
you guys are using irrational numbers. What's going
I
on?
don't even know what those are. I always faked it like I knew, but I never knew.
Uh, no, that's, I don't even, like, congratulations on your new job. I think that's where it all started. I don't
It
know.
doesn't even matter at
It
this point.
doesn't matter, dude. You wanna, pop in some,
Well, I do have a question for you, real
Oh,
quick,
yeah, sure.
before we get into any confusion matrix or more darkness. Um,
Yes, I am a Harambe guy.
are you what
I
okay,
totally
can we circle back? What
Yeah.
is a Harambe guy? What does that even mean?
I don't know. It's just a question.
Okay.
Do you like Harambe, I
Are
guess?
you tall? I'm a Harambe guy. I don't know. Um,
It's whatever you want it to mean, I suppose.
okay. I'm lost. Um, well, I was gonna ask you, do you we're entering a new year. I think when this comes out, it'll be the new year. Do you have any resolutions? Anything you're looking forward to in 2025?
I mean, obviously, I have work things that I can't talk about that I'm really, really excited about.
Boom, 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 boom.
I'm excited for, the PSYOP,
Yeah,
coming up. We have, at least one we're gonna be presenting. We have a session. I'm expecting a second session. I think you have 2 sessions as
I have a
well.
second session as well.
We talked about, also going to, um, the PSYOP, what are you putting together?
Yeah, so I think I'll probably bring Stephanie Murphy back at some point to talk about it because she's
Miss her. Yeah.
co-chairing it with me. But Alexis Fink reached out a while back. She's the president of PSYOP, and asked me and then Stephanie to co-chair the PSYOP People Analytics Leading Edge Consortium, which is going to be next October. We have a just stellar lineup of co-chairs who will also be presenters, and it is going to be just thebomb.com people analytics conference, and who knows, maybe there'll be a live Directionally Correct there, so we'll see.
Well, I mean, you're neither a leader in the AI space nor the people analytics space, so
So we
what
had
what
this,
what do you know?
oh my god, that was hilarious. And I gotta give, Kristen Sabo, a previous guest and friend of the podcast, credit. So we submitted a PSYOP session this year about people analytics, like leadership or whatever the topic is, and it's, I mean, it's just a rock star lineup of folks who do people analytics. And one of the reviewers we ultimately got rejected said, none of these people are neither people analytics nor AI experts. And they rejected us. I was like, if we're not experts, who are the fucking experts? 'Cause,
Fucking Einstein over here, and
yeah, like I presumably the person who left the comment is the real expert, and everybody else is not. So
he is the person that
RT.
created the quantum computer.
Yeah, Google Willow.
It is such a luck of the draw. You don't know like I think this year they solicited like if you submit a session, you have to be a reviewer.
Did they?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, I always review anyway, so I don't have to think about it. But yeah,
So I think you had a lot more blood in the game. That's a weird
blood in
phrase.
the
I don't know.
water,
Yeah, whatever.
sharks in the water,
Fresh blood
red
in the
ocean,
water. Yeah, I've said fresh blood a few times. This
fresh
can,
blood, new blood, new blood.
yeah.
There you go,
Um,
blood.
I think that there's also like the psyop's also like at a crossroads, not a crossroads, but a weird like mesh point of it always has been academics and practitioners.
Yep.
I think the academics are looking for a certain thing and practitioners looking for something else, and trying to balance those 2 and bring it all into, like, one overall, conference is it's a challenge.
It's kind of a schizophrenic field. It has two names. It's industrial and
Mhm.
organizational psychology. It is scientists and practitioners. We're the kind of people who can't figure shit out. We're always in a state of trying to mesh, you know? So, anyway, you wanna do some confusion metrics?
Oh, wait, hold on. Are you looking forward to anything else? Sorry, I never asked you to return.
Um, I am actually looking forward to the PSYOP one. I'm pretty psyched about that. I don't usually get psyched about conferences because generally speaking, they're not usually that informative, but I think this one will be. Um, I don't know.
Where are we going, Denver? It's Denver, right?
Denver and then the LEC will be in Atlanta,
Cool.
also. But yeah, what am I looking forward to next year? I don't think I'm gonna do a New Year's resolution because I realized I didn't really keep mine this past
Yeah.
year and I felt kind of like a jerk about it because we announced it on the podcast and then like immediately I stopped doing it. But yeah, I think I'm going New Year's resolution list this year. So hopefully I just get to be
So bold.
real deal.
So bold choice of you.
Yeah. Well, that's how this whole thing got started. I mean, I did a New Year's resolution that I was going to write one article. That one article led to a bunch, which led to me joining that thing with Al Adamson, which led to us talking about doing the pod.
I mean, there's so much in life that is just about just, like, showing up,
Yeah,
doing something,
just do something.
just doing something, saying yes.
That's like my typical advice to graduate students. It never lands. I think they assume that I'm giving like some kind of like cryptic wisdom.
Yeah.
Like, no, take what I'm saying at face value. It's just do things and things will manifest as a consequence. If you do nothing, nothing will manifest.
I God, there's lots of places I could go here, but
Because
one
really, they
one
want to say is like, well, what things should I be doing? I'm like, the things that you want to be doing. And they're like, ugh, just tell me the formula for success, a wise one. And
th
it's,
this is how I've managed my way through the career is, like, seeing things that I thought were problems and I could fix with, like, interesting solutions, go and prototype or more than prototype them,
mm-hmm,
eventually show them to someone that at that point, they can't say no.
because they're trapped.
Well, I mean, like, you've already built something with, like, a, like, really strong
Yeah.
proof of concept, and it's like, well, at that point, they're gonna say no. At the beginning, they'd be like, "No."
Yeah, but if you already done it, you're too far gone. Sunk cost fallacy.
Just, like, once again, having the motivation and, is it's not even strategic, it's just, like, the joy to do it on the weekends and nights because you enjoy it, you know? I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but
I think that actually cuts through a lot of the baloney out there is like, if you actually do enjoy something, you'll just do it anyway. right? And so if people are like, "Oh, but I'm not getting paid to do that," and it's like, well, it's probably not what you should be doing because you don't really sound like you're into it.
Yeah, if you're gonna wait for someone to pay you, it's just not gonna happen.
You're gonna wait for somebody to pay you to do a podcast. Probably don't do the podcast.
You can come down with a cool $1,300 a year. It's gonna be sweet.
Woo, some of that after tax money. Oh, it's so good.
Uh, uh, yeah, like, grad students out there, just take calculated risk and go do it.
I think we already established nobody Gen Z is listening to the podcast, so not graduate
Maybe
students.
we have some non-traditional students out there.
Maybe
Yeah,
some 40-year-olds going back, getting
yeah.
that master's degree. Good
And
on
they're
you.
like, "Yeah, I
Good
learned that
on you.
20 years ago."
Continuing your education. Well done.
You wanna do some nerds?
The nerdery.
Do you wanna do nerdery or we gonna do confusion matrix? Or was the dark
I
side
have no confusion matrix, we already did it.
alright, no confusion matrix today. Womp 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 womp.
We already did like, I can do it again, like, are you a Harambe guy?
No,
Okay,
not doing that.
okay.
Alright, let me hit you with one, and then you can hit me with
Sure.
another, and then we can kinda what do we call it? Trading blows. Trading some blows. I was actually gonna cover this the other day, but didn't get around to it.
Sounds risky.
Another, Ethan Mullet classic says, "People don't realize that AI labs mostly do lab things, shipping models to beat other labs. AI is a general technology. They have no idea what the ideal use cases for your job or industry are, or how good their models are at those things. You have to figure it out." And he keeps going on and on, but basically, I think people are waiting on these magical AIs to come in and disrupt people analytics or data science or what have you. And essentially, his point is it's not going to. It's going to create somebody who's using the LLM that has that domain specific knowledge to build the use cases. The LLMs can be used to do other things, which is another reason why I think it's going to come for plumbers last, is because no plumbers are building out the plumbing LLM use cases.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if I had to put it in, like, people terms, I call it, GMA. It's just general mental ability, right? It's just built for, all around purposes, which if you are building, like, a product for everyone to use, yeah, like, you don't wanna limit it to just one special, sort of, use case.
It is kind of wild to think about in those terms, like it is just general mental ability.
It's generalized intelligence,
Has
yeah.
there ever been a product that was just intelligence? Even if it was poor, has there ever been a product that was just, yeah, it's just intelligence in a nutshell?
I don't even know if I can wrap my mind around what you're saying.
Exactly. It's just so profound.
Um, I mean,
I'm
like,
in a good mood if you can't tell.
is it you are, I think
Playing
you got the
around.
caffeine going or something.
Yeah, some
I mean, I guess in certain senses, like, maybe the car, the automobile, it's used for you can use it as a truck, you can use it to take the kids, you can use it to take yourself. It's just transport in general.
yeah, that's transport, that's not intelligence.
No, I'm not saying it's
Okay.
I'm just saying as a product. Um,
I think that's the truly wild and revolutionary part of it is in my mind, I don't think we've had a product that was just blanket intelligence before, even if it was bad, and therefore, just we're not used to it as a society because 'cause we've never had a product like that.
I mean, I get yeah, there's nothing like it. The only thing that I could compare it to would be Siri, Alexa.
Yeah, but those never worked, I feel like. Ah, well done, thanks for joining us,
Thank you.
Siri.
I mean, you had Ask Jeeves back in the day.
Ash Jeeves was pure intelligence. Really great reference.
Yeah.
And it was just some, British butler who was answering your questions.
Just a static image there, baby.
Had just a static image.
No, that's really interesting, and Ethan Mullick is on it, man. He's out there. We love him.
Uh-huh. If you didn't abandon our podcast that one time. By the way, just the one episode that we had a guest no-show, that was absolutely Ethan Mullick. Not joking either. He just didn't show up.
He's got important things going on. He's got important things going on. But, like, along the same lines, this article is actually a book chapter called "Identifying Personality Dimensions and Characteristics of Digital Agents." So, digital assistants with personalities can improve our experience and trust, but existing personality models are too complex for many design use cases. So what these researchers did is develop 8 assistant characteristics based on personality and stereotypes from popular media, and they had 19 people interact with them. And what they found, not particularly shocking, is that friendly, authentic characters were rated most likable and trustworthy, while unfriendly or depressed characters, think like the robot from Hitchhiker's Guide from the Galaxy, they
I
were.
liked him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was like my favorite character. That was Professor Snape.
Was it?
Same actor. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. He's dead now.
They were less liked. The key dimensions identified were a balance of power and professionalisms, and that's about the main gist of that.
I'm not sure I got what to do with that.
Well, what you can do with it is like we're going to be interacting with these AIs.
But make them friendly, is that the point?
Yeah, if you want to make them likable, I mean, you can make them depressed and anxiety ridden if you want to.
It's all for nothing.
Especially when that becomes like your new best friend that you talk to all day.
I will say, and this is because think it was you who was talking about this, and I tried it out the other day. I did this talking to ChatGPT about a problem thing that I was having with work. And I'm telling you, on the other side of it, I felt better. I really did. I was like, wow, was totally unexpected. I've heard people talk about it, but I actually did the voice thing and it
Yeah.
spoke back to me. And I was like, this is really helpful. And I had never, because like I tried Siri, tried Alexa, never had anything that remotely resembled like, okay, this is helpful experience before. I was like, this is really great.
I used it last night. There was a free kick in the NFL game, the Thursday night football game. It's like a very rare sort of rule situation. I asked ChatGPT about it and told me a little bit of background about it. But like, think about a new employee onboarding. They
Mhm.
don't want to ask their coworker like, "Hey man, like I can't figure out how to get our meeting system to work. Can you help me out
Dude,
here?"
I
Or
ask
like,
everybody. I just blowing people up.
I believe you do. We'll say normal people. Like they don't wanna look foolish.
Yeah.
You give your little, like, onboarding buddy ChatGPT or, whatever,
Mhm.
LLM, and, ask all your dumb questions here. Then you collect all those questions and get rid of the people that you don't wanna keep around anymore.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Let me pull up the next one I got for you. I think you'll like this actually.
That's actually, like, a really interesting use for LLMs to give here's your onboarding buddy. And just, hey, if you got anything going on, you wanna know about your pay stub, you wanna know about whatever, it'll point you to it. And, if you have any, like, more complex questions, go to your coworker.
I mean, the thing I said from the beginning, a bunch of people have said this is not unique to me. I said in HR technology, the number one use case is knowledge management. And right, that includes onboarding. Just put all your documents and
Yeah.
all the pieces of information that you would ever need in one place and have the LLM be able to query it. That's the secret sauce. But again, back to what Ethan Mullick said a second ago, that's not just going to happen natively. LLMs aren't just going to create that capability. You're going to have to create the use case yourself or have a company who creates
Yeah.
it. Otherwise, it's not just going to happen organically.
This is where, like, there's 2 things, like, one, I appreciate the, generalized approach, so if the LLM can do anything, you don't have to go to, like, 4 different links to do whatever you want. And, 2, like, the LLM has to do something. It can't just be like, "Oh, well, I'm just gonna, like, give you some, like, little thought exercise." No, it has to, like, produce a document, it has to, like, help you do something in some way.
Well, and the other thing too, and kind of we were talking about this at lunch today about, you know, is it a tool that my golfing buddies would use?
Yeah.
Like everybody would use this because it actually you don't have to look dumb to use it,
That's why it'd be a
right?
good onboarding
It's a
tool.
great
Yeah.
onboarding tool because it's like ask all the secret questions you're too afraid to ask, and the LLM will answer it. And it's like it's the perfect set of incentives for why people would use it versus some things that you're
Yeah.
creating. No one's ever gonna use that LLM thing. It's like, we're gonna get LLM that's gonna figure out the toilet paper. It's like, well, no one's ever gonna use that, sorry.
I mean, like, I used it as a hypothetical, but I definitely had to ping someone I knew at my company to figure out how to set up the meeting system. Like, and I just set up one call with you because I messed it up with our VP.
And then there's a cutoff point where you've been there too long to ask,
Yeah.
you know? You're
Yes.
like 7 years in and people are like, "You still haven't received a paycheck and you never told anyone?" "I was just too afraid, I'm sorry."
Owed like months and months worth of back pay.
Alright, let me hit you with one. This is a little bit of switching gears. This is good stuff. So it comes from an article called "Beyond Change: Personality Environment Alignment at Work" from, Denise Onez, big PSYOP person, and a few others. And this guy Cheeseman put together a LinkedIn post about it. Really great name, all-time name. And it talks about how researchers are looking into something really interesting, how our personalities change or don't change as we get older, especially at work. And what they found is, because I was always kind of the mind that personality is, again, an individual difference, relatively stable throughout your life. But what they found is that your personality is mostly set by age 30. After that, changes are incredibly slow. They call it glacial. The biggest personality changes, however, happen in your 20s. All right. And once you hit 30, your personality tends to stay quite stable. But between those two ages of 20 and 30, that's the time where work experiences and life events like getting married or changing jobs are the things that are likely to change your personality, which is fascinating.
Interesting. You also have the frontal cortex finally fully develops at that point too. So once your brain is solidified, pretty good. Did you go through any like big changes in that period that you noticed?
I My riff on this is there's a reason why when you're like they say like the peak age to join a cult is when you're 25 years old. And it's because you're going through, I guess your brain is finishing its development, but also you're going through the most personality changes at that time. But you're also the most kind of what I just call out to sea, right? You're not who you used to be. You're not your identity of who you were when you were growing up, but you haven't achieved the identity of who you're going to be in the
Yeah.
future. And so all bets are off. You could become anything. And that's why the cult leader just swoops in and says, "Well, you could be one of us."
Yeah, I mean, your 20s tend to be, like, much more turbulent too, like, you're changing, where you live, you're changing, partners or, whatever, it just tends to be a lot, or you're, like, moving from job to job, trying to prove yourself. I mean, it just tends to be, like, a much more, stressful and, it's turbulent. Turbulence is a good way to put it. It's, like, just much more change going on
I
in
feel like
that period.
everything kinda goes dialed up to 11 in terms of how, like,
20s kinda suck,
yeah, they
dude.
kinda I mean, they're really great in terms of, like, you're in your peak physical shape and all that kinda stuff, and you're probably never gonna know more than you know then,
Yeah.
but you're also, like, completely lost, and it's very challenging.
No one has any value on you. You haven't
Yeah.
proven anything yet.
Well, you go through, like, all of your educational,
Yeah.
learning, and each time you remember you become, like, a senior in high school, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm the big man on campus," and then you become a freshman in college, you're like, "Oh, I'm the small man on campus again," and then you join the workforce, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be on the low end of the totem pole for, like, forever," and then, 15 years later, you're like, "Oh, maybe not so much."
I got 40 more years of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh,
Oh
no."
my god, I'm gonna do this till I die. What am I gonna do? And that's why I ask everybody, what do you like about working there?"
No, in reality, like, if you talk to a grad student, what you gotta tell them is, like, do what you wanna do. Like, what do you enjoy? If you enjoy talking to people, go be a consultant or some
Mhm.
aspect of that. If you don't enjoy talking to people, go be an engineer or something
Mhm.
like that. Because if you do, you cross over, you ain't gonna be happy. It's gonna be a
No.
long, miserable life for you.
You can be like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up
Oh
the
my
hill,
god.
up the hill.
Up the hill. Okay, I got something that'll bring a smile to your face. So, a Hawaiian monk seal died after a battle with toxoplasmosis.
Was his name Harambe?
No, we do know his name though. So toxoplasmosis is spread by cat feces is the leading cause of disease in critically endangered Hawaiian monk seals. There's only 1,300 left. Uh, boy, overwrote it, but essentially, like this seal ingested some fishing net and fishing equipment, and they had to put it down. after he also had toxoplasmosis, which I feel like the fishing net was, like, probably more dangerous to him. But they urge, cat owners, to keep their pet indoors and dispose of their cat feces so it doesn't leak into the runoff and get into the
Seals?
yeah, it goes into, like, the mussels or something that the seals eat in the water.
Are you okay, man? Everything you've brought up today is just depressing as hell.
I'm trying to make it funny, though.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
like, the seals are dying.
I thought you would love a good toxoplasmosis story.
20 suck. There is no purpose in life. We're all gonna die. Like, come on, man. Help me out. I'm just over here giggling about everything.
There is no purpose in life,
Oh
probably.
my
I don't
god,
know.
Scott. Come on. All right. Let me hit you with something else before
Okay.
we really go off the deep end. This actually might contribute to your depression. All right. Let's find it. This is actually one I read the whole thing, but it was a little while ago, so I'm going to do my best to remember it. It's called The Algorithm and the Org Chart: How Algorithms Can Help Conflict with Organizational Structures. And I just thought, and this is from the proceedings of, I don't know what ACM stands for. Oh, Association of Computing Machinery. So this is clearly like a computer science journal. So
Okay.
this is not what I always find is when other disciplines are doing kind of like psychology or people analytics adjacent research, and what they found is essentially that if your org chart is essentially how a loose abstraction of how decisions are made in an organization. Obviously, you do a bunch of O&A research and realize that there's alternatives to that, but again, these are not folks that are
I mean, they structure the organization for a reason.
correct. And presumably, if you worked like a true pyramid, that decisions move up the pyramid to get made. And what they found was that that algorithms, like and specifically algorithm-based decision making, was superior to human-based decision making. However, and this is the tale that's as old as time in people analytics and IO psychology, that the thing that actually decreased the level of adoption, even though superior decision making was made by algorithms, was the org chart itself. So when it came into conflict with different priorities of different groups or different leaders in an organization, and so essentially what they're arguing for is that the algorithm should basically be in charge of the whole company, make all the decisions, which is the stereotypical computer science answer to everything. But what I thought was so funny is that another discipline finally came to the same conclusion that, oh, it's not just about finding the right answer, it's about being able to influence the adoption of the answer with people who aren't necessarily on board with it in the first place. I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting, and like you said, we know, that, mechanical judgment is better than human judgment. I
Mhm.
mean, this is like a one of the things that we do know in
Yeah.
psychology, this sort of thing, and, it goes back again to, like, we've talked to a million people analytics folks, and, like, it's a continuum from, first, do you have the data? Do you have a way to warehouse the data? Do you have the people to analyze the data? Do you have
Mhm.
a way to actually get the data out? And then finally, can you actually influence people to change with the data? There's a lot that has to go right, including the last bit there. So even if you have all the pieces in place, trying to get leaders to change their mind, that goes especially it goes against
Yeah.
what they believe.
And I think again, that's why I say it's a tale as old as time, because what you're describing is what they call the algorithm in the org chart.
Mhm.
What your research is essentially the quote unquote algorithm, and it's you're fighting City Hall, i.e., the org chart, in terms of trying to make it happen. And I just think it's interesting when you see other disciplines kind of run up against that.
I'm in the middle of reading, Laszlo Block's, Work Rules book. It's so far fantastic, but there's a great quote in there. It's for someone at Google because, of course, he's from Google. It was something about, like, bringing data to an argument, and a leader was telling their subordinates, like, "Hey, you brought me this paper, and, like, you want me to do this thing, but there's no data in it. So if it's just a, opinion, we're gonna go with my opinion."
Yeah, I think that's that famous quote: "If you've got data, show me yours, but if you got opinions, let's use mine."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. You got another one?
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, do I got other ones for you. Okay, check this out. We got some more catastrophe. catastrophic sort of information here. So, the application of network analysis to
We're gonna
uncover
call this episode "Is Scott Okay?"
the application of network analysis to uncover variables contributing to functional recovery after stroke. It's really cool. So, stroke is a leading cause of disability worldwide, and identifying the factors affecting the functional outcomes is important to treatment planning. And they can use network analysis as to model these sort of approaches. So, thinking about it like a causal attitude network. So,
Mhm.
essentially,
I
throwing
remember
the
that.
different
Nathan Carter. I'm going
Nathan Carter.
there you go.
Had someone else on that
And
was
Nicole Lettich.
Nicole, yeah. So this is a retrospective study. They took 348 stroke patients and used network analysis to investigate the associations between clinical and demographic
Actually, I think it
variables.
was Nicholas Brimner, sorry.
Brimner, I can't
I
remember.
don't know.
But essentially, they compared people that are high and low functioning after this, and they essentially found 325 connections and identified between variables, and 22 significantly differentiated between high and low functioning groups. Specifically, the high functioning group had a much denser network between these sort of variables. So, I mean, no specific findings here that we can use in a people analytics case, but the application of network analysis is pretty fascinating for a variety of different fields.
You know, I think about it this way, and this is one of the things I think is just fascinating that you've been able to dig so deep and become such a subject matter expert in that space is well, I actually have a question for you. Have you ever done anything with knowledge graphs and like the social graphs that like social networking sites use?
Tell me more.
Well, essentially, like the whole premise behind like why Facebook popped off back in like the 2000s and other, social networking sites didn't is because I don't know if they invented or they just started using for the first time what they called the social graph, which is just basically a huge O&A on steroids.
Okay.
Who's linked to whom and, what are all the connections and how you can use that to disseminate information to make people like each other, get connected, and honestly make the apps more addictive too and all that kind of bad
Yeah.
stuff. But and then I hear about, like, knowledge graphs, and then I hear about O&A, and it just seems like there's, like I I don't know, like, the right words for it, but, like, let's call it, like, the pre-network revolution was, like, everything's just linear. It's like you have an independent variable and a dependent variable, and what's the relationship between the 2?
Yeah.
And then once you overlay things like O&A and you can apply them to so many things, it's like, it's not just one dependent variable and a bunch of IVs going related to it. It's a bunch of IVs and a bunch of DVs, and it's all the interrelationships and then the emergent properties that happen as a consequence of those. And that's really why it's such an exciting area to be in. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots to unpack there. Yes, I do use. I can only say so much. I'll put it that way. I do advocate and use for network analysis in a variety of contexts, such as causal attitude networks and other applications. Um, and also, yes, I think that a lot of people, when they do think about network analysis, especially people that are not necessarily practitioners but like enjoy the concepts, do think about like you got an influencer, they will linearly influence somebody else.
But it's not
But
like that.
it's not like that at all. That they're going to be connected to a ton of people, and you got like feedback loops. So connect to other people that you can also utilize that.
Mhm.
There's a concepts such as the horizon of influenceability. So you're talking like two people away. Like I know you, Cole. I kind of have a pretty good idea of how you behave. You have other people in. No, not really, not you. But like you have other people in your network that you maybe tell me about, and I got an idea of what they do. But it's going to be easier for me to influence you than it is them. But there's still some sort of like feedback mechanism that we can also utilize there. There's just tons of applications, and actually a lot of the principles of network analysis, some of the more emerging ones, come from the biomedical field, like how neurons actually interact in the brain, how proteins interact. It's wild.
I mean, what if we find that like every scientific advancement of the future is actually based on like network graphs or something like that?
Well, I think that that's everything does feel interconnected in some way, right? Even if it's like indirectly. But as you see, like in a causal attitude network, the results you get are not that different from factor analysis because things tend to cluster together, right? So certain things have little pockets of influence, and you call it influence, you just call that hanging together, whatever you want. So I mean,
Birds of a feather flock together, as you're known to say, and Michael
s-
Arena.
sometimes that's
Homophily.
homophily. Very good.
I'm a listener.
Homophily. That's a big one.
Look at me.
We could talk about the friendship paradox later, maybe next time.
Is that an article you got?
No, that's just the idea that your friends mathematically have more friends than you.
And have you ever heard? I heard something like this. Like every um, for every person has like one mother, or like what is it? It's like they have double the number of female relatives as male relatives. You ever heard this?
No.
And I guess it's because in the past there used to be like what do they call it when you have multiple wives?
Oh, polygamy.
Polygamy. And so like there were more or more female ancestors than male ancestors because of polygamy for some reason. And like that's just a wild fact, I guess. Anyway,
I ain't gonna fact check you, but that's
your thing about like your friends have more friends than you do.
yeah.
It made me think about that. It's like a weird statistical fact that you would not be intuitive automatically.
The here, I'll just go ahead and cover it quickly. The friendship paradox is that your friends mathematically have more friends than you because it's likely that you are not the highest connected friend in the group. Even popular people are connected to other popular people.
Oh shit.
Right, so, like, someone that's not very popular, they're on the edge of the network, they're or we'll not even put it in network terms. They're on the edge of the friend group, right? They don't know they may have, like, one connection who's popular. That person's got 50 friends.
Yeah.
Now they have one friend, their friend has 50 friends, right? That popular person's more likely to be connected to other popular people
Who have 100 friends.
who have 100 friends. Yeah, so
Everybody feels like they have less friends than the other people that they know.
and even that local popular person, he has, like, 5 other 6 other people that have no friends connected to him. Right, so
He's just tolerating those fuckers. Hi, no friends?
he may not even consider them friends.
Yeah, they're just acquaintances.
They're just people that I've once met.
It's like, God, these people can't get a
Have you
friend.
heard these, like, crazy stories of, like, someone, like, inviting someone else to be, like, their, groomsman at their wedding? Be like, "Are we even friends? Why'd you"
I feel like that's like the plot of movies, but I've never heard about that in real life. Maybe it's because I don't know, my friends have friends. But, okay, one more each, and then we'll cut this thing off. All right. So the article is ChatGPT, can you take my job interview? Examining artificial intelligence cheating in asynchronous video interviews. And I'm not even going to go into it. I think that explains it all. Is that people are using AI to do interviews for themselves, and is that cheating? I don't think the question is like how good is it, or obviously it's going to be happening if you're doing video interviews. Is it cheating?
Um, I've got I have seen, like, TikTok videos of people holding interviews, being interviewed, and going into ChatGPT and just writing the answer or the question really quick and having it spit out answers, and it gives them, like, step by step how to do it. And it feels like cheating, but at the same time, if that's a tool you're gonna be using on the job,
It
it's
is.
just a tool.
It's just a tool.
Like you're using a video camera,
Using a calculator.
using a computer,
Yeah, just using that computer. If that's the new computer, why are you not using it?
then have at it. Like,
I
the
mean,
value of crystallized intelligence is
yeah.
so low.
Well, and here's the thing is like, is the interview of the future just a test of ChatGPT proficiency? How good at you are using ChatGPT?
I'll get my personal ChatGPT to take their ChatGPT.
I'll have my ChatGPT fight your ChatGPT any day. My dad's stronger than your dad.
Is it like okay, it's the whole education model is crazy,
Mhm.
right? Like, what are we gonna do with this in the next few years? And this just adds credence to the idea that social skills are more rarefied than any other skill out there, than technical skills anyway. And hiring for those is going to be a premium.
Absolutely. Actually, can I hit you with 2 more really
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, hit me.
All right. One is, and I already hinted at it earlier, is from Rob Briner, the big evidence-based management guy. We've talked about a few of his things on the podcast. Approximately 1 in 7 scientific papers are fake.
There you go.
Right. And this is
He's saying 1 in 7. What's that? Like 14%, something like
yep.
that.
So it's not quite Corday level, but it is showing that of the studies that they studied.
Significant.
Yep, and it is significant. And then on kind of a related note, a friend of the podcast, previous guest Keith McNulty, published a yeah, he's amazing. Published an article called "Can a Horse Do Math?" and it's talking about the famous case of the horse Clever Hans.
Yeah, he would stomp out,
Mhm.
as long as he saw you.
As long as he saw you. And so what they were able to do to figure out that how Clever Hans was able to know the answer was because it was basically, I think through explicit and implicit cues that the questioner was asking
Yeah.
was kind of prodding him to know what the correct answer was. And so if you separated the questioner where he couldn't see anymore and the questioner actually didn't know the answer anymore, Clever Hans was not so clever anymore. And it makes you wonder how much of scientific research suffers from the clever Hans problem of people wanting to find something or knowing that they would be rewarded for finding something. And then they find it, and then they clever Hans that way all the way through the publishing process. And lo and behold, 1 in 7 scientific papers are fake, and the 6 of the other 7 suffer from clever Hansitis. And that's where we're at.
I didn't think about it that way. Like, there are so many articles that are published with, like, pedestrian sort of findings. You're like, "Yeah, okay, we know that, like, not enjoying your coworkers is related to leaving the organization, right?
Hmm.
Like, having bad experience leaving the organization." But I always thought it was, like, people are faking novel findings, not things that they would just expect to find and no one's gonna question it.
Well, that's what this is what gets back to my point from earlier in the podcast about doing a factor analysis of all
Mhm.
the research to say, what do we actually know? What's not suffering from clever Hans and what's not suffering from just deliberate faking, you know?
And then this is what I was saying too, like, you just, like, turn an LLM on, it's like, your findings are impossible.
Just sprinkle XGBoost.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. You got one more for me?
One more, yeah, we'll end on a high. I
Okay.
won't I won't be, too, down this time. So, is this an accurate breakdown of what the South is?
Oh
So,
my
you
gosh.
have
Now we're getting into my territory.
yeah, you got the Deep South from Mississippi all the way to South Carolina. They call the South I guess it's kinda like a radius too, like, it all kind of bubbles out, but from Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee to North Carolina, sort of the South. They kinda call, Oklahoma, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia, and everything else is not the South, except for Florida, which is just called Florida.
See, what it says not the South and it says Washington, Ohio, and Maryland, or maybe that's just am I colorblind? Oh, I'm definitely colorblind. Okay. I thought those were different colors. Um,
Does it look accurate to you?
no.
Oh, no. What do you think it is?
Well, the thing is, part like, you almost have to do it on, like, a county by county basis, right? Because I'm telling you, Kansas and rural Missouri and rural Ohio and a lot of these in Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, there's a lot of, southiness there, right?
But that's not the South.
It's not the South, but the other thing is they have Louisiana as orange, which is the South, and then they have Mississippi as red, which is the deep South, and I don't think anybody thinks that Louisiana is not the deep South. But then I think about it and I'm like, "Okay, all of this is the deep South, except for maybe Texas and Florida." And
Texas
Florida
has often been like a edge case in a
it's
lot of
always been
ways.
education. Florida's just Florida. It's its own, like, animal. And then all the ones in well, actually, I would say Oklahoma probably is the South, and they have it as, like, sort of the South. But then, like, areas like Virginia
I can't get behind Virginia being the South. I can't
Virginia
do
was,
it.
like, historically the South,
Yes.
but not culturally at all anymore.
No. Even North Carolina. Yeah, I guess it is
It
the
kinda is.
South.
That's why I mean, they still sing Wagon Wheel in North Carolina.
Oklahoma, no. I wouldn't call that the South.
It is something.
It's it's definitely not West. It's definitely
Yeah,
not like Midwest.
yeah. I mean, I hang out with plenty of people that are from Oklahoma, and, they don't seem like they're from, somewhere else.
I would lump in Tennessee. Yeah, I think it's pretty good representation. I probably Louisiana is deep South.
It is, for sure.
Other than that, anyway, man.
Alright, that's a fun one. Let's end on a high note. Well, I don't know, anything you wanna leave us with for our first Colin Scott of 2025?
Hey, looking forward to a great year. Good to see you, bud.
More life podcasts, more fun to be had.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Direction Correct, a People Next podcast with Colin Scott, and today's guest, Nobody.
Directionally Correct is dedicated to you, our listeners, to help educate and entertain you on how to effectively do people analytics. By supporting this podcast, you are helping us continue to provide valuable insights and knowledge to our listeners. Please consider becoming a patron of the podcast. You can find the link to sign up in the show notes or at patron.podbean.com/directionallycorrect. Thanks for your support.